Hello team, we need your help. We always want to improve and grow this podcast, and we want to ask you, our valuable listeners, to provide us with some feedback. In the description below, we have included a little questionnaire for you, and I promise it won't take more than 5 minutes of your time. To make this even better, at the end of the 5 weeks, we're going to pick 3 lucky winners from a hat, and we're going to send out a ton of process programming swag to you guys. So thank you for all the love, support, and thank you for helping us to make this podcast even better.
What is up to the Process Podcast? And we have a whole team in the gang here. Can we introduce each other first?
You say a whole team in the gang.
No?
What's that?
That's good.
All right. If you want me to fully disclose why I'm a little bit distracted, was a mere 10 seconds before the podcast started, Ed farted in the room.
That's gross. Who's Ed?
Well, here I'm going to open up a question because this is something I've been trying to figure out this entire time working in this office. And I'm not saying it's a thing that happens in our office particularly, but in human nature.
That's good.
Number one, and we'll go around the room. Do you have to lift one cheek to fart in a chair? Yes or no?
I think sometimes it's a bit more comfortable. It makes the exit a bit cleaner, you know?
Like really?
Sometimes, like if you're sat, like I'm sat right now and I'm thinking about it, my butt cheeks are really squished together.
Yeah, it might make it quieter. If you
It
lift
also
one.
might make you like really squeak out, and that could be a bit awkward. So,
So you really don't want
I
to make
kind
it
of like a
obvious.
little bit of a just like lift, but you don't have to hold it there. When you start holding it there, people are like you're doing it in my direction, like deliberately, versus just like a quick shift and then do it maybe.
Okay.
Still obvious though.
Yeah, it's still.
I'm trying to think why I actually do that.
Like you
Why
do
I
it
need-
naturally.
I think if I didn't lift a cheek, it would actually be louder.
Mm.
I think it would like amplify into the plastic chair.
Oh, that's actually a
and-
good point.
Your
Yeah.
butt cheeks would vibrate together.
Yeah, and that as well. Then, like Ant said, it would be like a bit of a whistle.
Okay. Well, I would wonder if like you're trying to open it up that way, it comes out like a.
Oh,
God. Nice.
Just I mean, theoretically speaking.
That's a horrible. That's a horrible noise. You just made.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Adele, what are your thoughts?
No comment.
It's a powerful start to the podcast.
So
Oh, now we're
So-
introducing
yeah.
ourselves.
yeah, so
Sorry,
yes, I
back-
am a little bit distracted just because of that. But now that that's out of the way,
Yeah.
let's go around the room and introduce ourselves.
Oh, hello guys. I'm Ed Haynes. Good to see you all and speak to you all again. I mean, yes, go. Ant.
Good to be back on the Process Podcast. I am Ant Haynes.
Hello, I am Adele Quinton-Page, and this is my first Process podcast.
Yes, Adele.
Yes, I'm Chris, and this is not important because we're going to go back to Adele. This
Oh,
is your
no.
first Process podcast. Number one, is this your first podcast episode ever, too?
Ever? Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
It won't be your last, I don't think. We'll get to
I
that
might
in
be
a second.
terrible. It might be my last.
All right. Like right now, what's your initial feeling sitting in this chair, me asking these questions while you speak into a mic?
I'm so nervous.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Surely that opener would settle the nerves a little bit.
Maybe she needs to fart.
I know,
She's
dude.
actually
Now
super
I really
nervous.
need
And
to
she's going to be
fart.
judged now as well.
She's going to lift her ass cheeks so slowly so she's
Yeah,
not
no, I'm like,
noticed.
shit, how do I do this without anyone noticing?
So at the time of recording this podcast, we're going to get this out a week from today, but still, we just wrapped up the 2024 individual quarterfinals. We're going to talk about scores. So disclaimer, these scores are still officially unofficial, but we'll go with the healthy assumption that we're going to run with the numbers that we have. That being said, we're just going to talk about that weekend. All right. So the opening question will be overall impression of quarterfinals weekend for you guys.
Oh, okay, I'll have to narrow that down a little bit. Do you mean in terms of like how these guys executed the workout, or what do we think of the workouts altogether in the whole grand scheme of the season?
That's a good question. So to specify, let's talk about the programming first. So one of the things that's really important about this discussion is we're speaking from 2 specific perspectives. 1, the coach, and 2, the athletes that executed them. So I guess let's start from the coach's perspective. How do you feel about the programming this year?
I think in the context of the changes that happened at the quarterfinals this year, so the fact that it's a 25% went through, so I think the big question mark going into quarterfinals was what the test's going to look like. are they going to be appropriate for all 25%?
Yeah.
Because I think if we look at previous years' workouts, it probably wouldn't have been appropriate for the top 25%. I think even last year was like hardly appropriate for the top 10%. I feel like the top 5% last year handled the workouts really well. And there's a lot of people who just, for example, just couldn't clean and jet that load.
Yeah.
So that was a big question mark. And I think now looking at the workouts that have come through, I thought the workouts were actually really good. I love that they programmed them in a way that they could be run in affiliates. So here at Coastal, we ran two of the workouts as group classes, and the vibe was awesome. I like the fact, in hindsight, they've moved it to 25%. I think the overall feel from our community, we had 40 people in Coastal Fitness qualified to the quarterfinals, and everyone is in the position now where they're like, they can't stop speaking out the weekend. They had such a good time. They're really fired up for next year. And I think it was just really cool just to have 40 people, all progress into the next round. So I think I like the 25%. I said when we last spoke about it, I wasn't sure about it. I thought the workouts were good. I thought they were appropriate. I still think the best athletes made it to the next stage. I think when we look at, for example, Ant, your results, you more or less finished. I think you actually qualified probably a little bit higher this year than last year.
Well, last year I almost didn't qualify because I got a penalty.
You got a penalty.
For not standing up my squats.
Yeah. So I think more or less when you look at the people who've qualified to semi-finals now, you got all the same athletes that more or less qualify every year. I haven't had a thorough look through the leaderboards, but the tests were good enough to allow the 25%ers to get a good test and have a good workout, have a good time, but it was still good enough to test the best to have separators on the leaderboard.
Okay.
So I actually really like it.
Yeah, I mean, just going off of that, the vibes were pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was awesome.
In Coastal, kind of all around. You're seeing all over Instagram and everything. Shout out to Karan Senji for getting his 225 clean and jerk posted on CrossFit, not once but twice in the last few days.
Yeah, that was greedy. I thought he hit the
Collaborated
spot.
with me on the second one.
What a
There we go.
dick.
Did you reject the
I
collaboration?
left it for 48 hours.
Did he message you, Ant?
No, he didn't. I normally,
And
don't,
as,
I normally don't accept his collabs, to be fair.
From
I'm
the
not
a-
normally in them. I'm not normally in them. It's just he just tagged me as a collab.
You also
I'm like,
kneeled
why
in
would I-
that position for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
You deserved
Agreed.
the tag and the collab.
And I was smack bang in the middle of a video the whole time.
That is true.
Yeah. What a
Well,
guy.
I mean, I always wonder, like, at what point do you tag someone versus collaborate with them? And
I think they're an equal part of your video.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
all right.
Can I ask athletes? I mean, Chris, you did one of the workouts, well, and you had an athlete
I did,
who you
yeah.
coached through the quarterfinals as well.
Yeah, my boy
but I'm going
Brandon.
to ask athletes first. Like, what did you guys think of the tests?
I think they were good tests. I think they were fun tests. I think the tests as a set of 4 allowed the elites to race, and it allowed the average Joe, let's call them, for that are not elites, to grind, which is cool because it didn't stop anyone at any point. Even like the clean and jerks, for the most part, even if you couldn't clean and jerk a 225 or a 245 for the guys, for example, you would still be working pretty much the whole time through your 185 or your 225.
Right.
And then you would get like a real quick crack at that last bar. Like it's kind of like a Hail Mary versus like, cool, I got 10 minutes to try to do something that I can't really do.
Yeah.
Which was what we saw last year. So that was good. And then like I said, it let the elites really push a hard pace on all 4 of the workouts. They were very inclusive, and I think they're well thought out. Yeah, they were fun workouts as well. Good to run an affiliate. The EMOM one was fun as well. The EMOM style of the 1 minute fight gone bad stuff. Yeah, that was cool to see different strategies play out as well. Right. And I think it was a good fun weekend from my standpoint.
Nice. Adele, what did you think?
No, I agree. I really enjoyed the workouts. I do. So I feel like the women's weights were definitely
Joke.
a
joke.
They were definitely not quite. Yeah, the men's were a lot heavier than the heaviest of the women's.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining because that is definitely not my strength, but it made like sort of quite big separators then. Like for the I think workout 4, then the women were getting like 20 plus reps on that last bar.
Yeah.
I'm sure some men were as well, but it'd be interesting to see actually. I don't know what the stats are, but it'd be interesting to see like for the elites how many reps the women were getting versus the men on that last bar.
Can I ask Adele, like, how do you actually feel about it? You said like, hey, this kind of favored you by it being a little bit lighter, but like, what are your genuine thoughts as a female? Is it because you would like the workouts to be more comparable in terms of women versus men in terms of scores, or what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, that like last year, that burpee box jump over and that clean and jerk.
Yeah.
Like that was a really hard workout. And I think that was definitely, if they had done that this year, I mean, so many people, because it's 25%, wouldn't have been able to, so many women wouldn't have been able to like lift that bar. So I feel like it was a lot better this year. But I really enjoyed the workouts. Like there's some really horrible ones that you can, like that, the burpee box jump over and the wall balls. Yeah. I think everyone just like, just put the fear in God in everyone. Like,
I remember that workout, yeah.
One and done on that one.
Can I ask, when you're talking about this female weight being reduced, as someone who's done CrossFit for like, a long time, you're obviously very used to a 95-pound bar versus if I was to snatch a 135 and now it's an 85-pound bar. Does that make you feel any way in terms of your own competitive journey or the females within the sport? Do you feel like it's too light, too heavy? Like, how does it make you feel? Because you normally would do a 95-pound bar, right?
Yes.
And now you're 10 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
So does it make you feel that it's justified within the sport? Or are you just like, oh, that feels like a gimme now, it's too easy?
I feel like, the people who are going to get through to that next stage, to get through to semifinals, they're not going to, they'll give us the heavy bars there. Yeah, it's going to come, So
you think it's good for the 25% who are
to be
going
inclusive,
through?
I think it was good. It was a
Do you
good
think
call.
the men's weight should be reducing as well?
I don't know, maybe. Ask the men.
Well, for you had a, instead of a 95-pound bar, you had an 85. To what extent did that feel different in the workout, having to snatch 85 on that first minute of that EMOM? Did it feel like it played a significant role in your output?
Yeah, I suppose I could have done. Yeah, I moved that bar a lot easier than I thought. I think I would have moved a 95.
I think the only reason I can think of, because I think what myself and Ant are saying here is that in like older school CrossFit, the 70% weighting of female weights relative to men. So if men were cleaning 102, women would be doing 70, so roughly 70%. That percentage now has kind of moved down a bit, right? I think women are more like they're lifting between 65 to 68% of what the men's weight is. When I think about this, I think at the top level, at the elite level and probably like just below from the elite level, the 70% weighting is probably pretty appropriate. I think you're going to get very even scoring there. But I think when you look below the elite, I'm talking about like the big mass of people who do the CrossFit Open. A lot of females who come into CrossFit are generally weaker relative than a lot of men who come into CrossFit.
Yeah.
Right. And so because of that, maybe more like a 65, 68% weighting for the general population of CrossFit is more appropriate. But then I think when you get towards elites, I think it should be 70%. That's my thoughts on it. So I think, what would you say?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I would just say it only happened last year, right? I think moved it down last year.
I feel like it was the first year of the sanctioned semifinals that year was also less.
Yeah, I can't remember. Anyway, I for some reason I thought that happened last year at some point. But either way, I agree. I think if they're letting 25% through, it probably makes sense to do that. But as long as like semifinals games level, it should go back up to like a 70% weighting.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in then, Chris.
Yep.
What did you think of the test? Because you were coaching an athlete.
So Brendan Maxwell, shout out to you, buddy. He is a master's in the 35 to 39. And actually, he's a really good example of maybe the type of athlete that we want to see, or it seems like CrossFit wants to see doing well and encourage them to move on into the next level. Because he doesn't have ring muscle ups because he has some elbow and shoulder injuries where we can't really be doing a lot of dynamic movement in that range of motion. It just really messes up his tendonitis. So we're looking at the workouts and we looked at event number 3, which had 20 ring muscle ups, and he just first impression was, I'm not going to do that workout because I can't get to the muscle ups. So I said, well, there's a lot of the workout that you still have to do behind that first. So don't even worry about the muscle ups. Worry about, your handstand push-ups and your toes to bar and the rope climbs and everything else. So with all things considered, because this was only his second open and his first quarterfinals, he was able to essentially complete every workout. And with the clean and jerk workout, he wasn't sure if he was going to finish the 225 bar, and he was able to finish the 225 at, just over 9 minutes. And he wasn't even sure if he was going to hit that because he's only done it once in his life. So we're really happy with his performance. So I think as part of the vibes of quarterfinals, I think it was ripe for those kinds of moments for people to really overcome certain odds and to push themselves just enough to show up in these ways that I think we're seeing all over like social media and stuff. So I think in terms of a test of fitness appropriate for that group, 25%, it seemed almost perfectly spot on.
Yeah,
That's
nice.
my impression.
Well, what did you guys think of the fact that there was no, like the strength test was the barbell like increasing load test versus,
Bloody great.
Yeah, I really like
versus
that.
previous years where we've had like an isolated strength test. So we're happy. You're happy from a selfish perspective in the sense that it's better for you from a testing sense.
Yeah, I do. I mean, look, the way that you thought it was going to be a max snatch, max clean and jerk. That would have really disappointed me in my last three competitions at games, Asia CrossFit Champs and DFC have had max clean and jerk and max snatch in both. And I'm just like, God, I just don't want to see it again. I don't mind if there is a max lift. It's totally fine. I can accept it as part of the sport. I'm not bitter about it at all. But the way that I think there's just, like I said, it's a more inclusive way. I think the next stage needs to have a max lift.
Yeah.
If we're going to have a complete set of tests. But I think for this stage with the 25%, it was very appropriate. And like you guys are all saying, I think it was well done.
Nice.
Do you think that a max lift then doesn't really have a place in the open or quarterfinals, considering that opens for everyone in
considering the
20%?
lack of tests, I would say a straight up max lift is. Yeah, I mean, yes and no. It depends what else they're testing.
Yeah.
If you're just testing like you can go a 2K row, a 1 rep max clean and jerk, a 1 rep max snatch, and you can go a 20-second assault bike. I don't know, something,
Right.
or a gymnastics test, or 130 muscle ups a time.
Well, that goes to, I guess, the point that I wanted to get to with each of these individual workouts. There are 4 events. How would you categorize the tests themselves? Like, what were we testing here in each of those 4 events? Again, we have a limited number of workouts that we can do, so we need to be able to find our semifinals athletes through these 4 tests. How would you categorize them? And then the second question after that, were those tests appropriate to find the semifinals athletes?
Well, I was going to say, are you talking about the test for semifinals athletes, or are you talking about the test for the general population?
The test for the general population to, I suppose, find the semifinals athletes.
Yeah, I think your Ant's question is basically the test will the level of the athlete will detect the dose.
Dose response of the test, the
God,
stimulus.
I can't even speak it. Yeah, the level of the athlete will define the dose response of the workout.
Right, like workout 2, will you finish it is one way to test it, and the other type of athlete, our semifinals athlete, is like how fast can you finish it?
Yeah, but also like the clean and jerk, the workout 4, for some people, they will get to a point like Karan where he just basically stood around for 5 minutes and then went for like an absolute test of his 1 rep max clean and jerk.
Yeah, I see.
Where other guys are cycling for 31 reps.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
I'd actually say workout 2 is probably the most consistent test for everyone. I mean, for the elite, it's like it's an aerobic test and a muscle endurance test for like your quads and your shoulders and your triceps. Right. But if I look at workout 1, for example, the 4 rounds of max snatches, row, box step ups, for the elite athletes, they will look I think the workout, I've listened to Bosman on a podcast talking about his design of the workouts. He wanted to pick 3 movements where at the elite level the rep count for each of them would be more or less the same. So what you can't have is something like, you can't have double unders in there where you could potentially get like 100 reps where someone could really like just go all in on that one workout and on one movement and get loads of reps in a workout. So at the elite level, it was designed to be roughly even scores across the 3 movements. But when you look at most of the people who did this workout, let's say from like 6% to 25%, the barbell was probably for most people the movement out of the 3 that they couldn't move anywhere near as much as row cowls and step ups. So for most people it became a rowing and a box step up workout, right? Where they were just like, okay, get a few snatches on the board, sell my soul on the row, and just like hang on and try and get some step up. So for that person, it's a very different workout to the elite who are working hard for 3 minutes nonstop, as an example. And the clean and jerk workout, the elite, it's the first 3 bars are kind of like warm-ups where you're kind of like dialing in technique, your aerobic system's getting going, and then it's the last bar where the workout like really starts. So yeah, I would say that if you look at the 4 workouts, let's kind of base it on the everyone. Workout 1 is still very much an aerobic muscle endurance test, I would say. Again, depending on how strong you are, the barbell. Workout 2 is like the most like pure aerobic test, I'd say, of all of them. But still, like a lot of people who maybe aren't that strong at wall balls had to have broke those wall balls up a lot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the aerobic system that was limiting them. It might have been like their quads or their shoulders or their arms being able to throw the ball up there. So probably wasn't like a pure aerobic test. You still had to have good levels of muscle endurance. And then we look at workout 3. Okay, the rope climb, handstand push-up was a very upper body bias workout. Again, for the elite, that's just going to be like a muscle endurance workout. Elite was not really getting bottlenecked by any one movement. Maybe just like 1, maybe 2 breaks in a set, they could still get through it. Whereas for someone who, I feel like Ant's already going to say it like you, someone like me on the strict handstand push-ups, potentially getting bottlenecked there, that becomes
Potentially getting bottlenecked.
that
Yes.
becomes more like an absolute strength endurance test, right?
Right.
So I kind of feel like there were 3 very leg heavy workouts, and there was 1 very upper body bias workout. If I look at I don't know what you guys thought. I didn't do the workouts, I didn't feel them. But when I looked at them, they're very up. All the upper body was like crammed into one workout. I kind of would have liked to seen that spread out a little bit more if I'm being really critical.
I think a lot of the elite people felt that workout 1 was actually a very upper body taxing workout because of the grip. If I think a few elite guys would hold on to touch and go snatches, obviously everyone rode hard.
Yeah.
And then everyone tried to hold on to step ups unbroken. So I think grip was a factor there. I certainly was more aware of my shoulders and grip when I was doing that workout versus my legs. I was also pretty fucked through the workout anyway, but yeah, I think I would agree with your breakdown of that.
I also say, I think when I look like zooming out a little bit, this year, the Open and the Quarterfinals has been very aerobic. Like you need to be aerobically fit. And I think when I think about that, I think it that feels more like classic CrossFit back in the day. Yeah, which was like very much an aerobic sport. And then it had a period where it biased like really heavy loads, right? When it got to like regional level, the weight suddenly like doubled and it became much more like how strong are you? And if you're really strong and decently aerobic, you can probably finish on the podium. And I feel like this year it's really moved back. Last year was a combination of like aerobic capacity and like skills.
Yes.
Which I saw like high skill movements come back in, which I thought was quite cool. And I felt like this year so far we've seen pretty low skill movements, but a lot of like demand on the energy systems and specifically the aerobic stuff, which I don't know, I quite like, because I feel like it does make it a bit more of an even playing field, because I feel like a lot of people don't have limits on their aerobic capacity versus we do have limits on strength.
You mean psychologically?
I mean, even physically, like the athlete who is like, if strength was a bias, naturally the bigger people,
Of course.
regardless of training, are always going to do better.
Yeah.
Right. Mass moves mass at the end of the day. Yeah. So small athletes are always at disadvantage, but you can be big or small and be able to develop, pretty damn good aerobic system. So I do feel like an aerobic bias evens out the playing field a little bit more. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I agree. It goes back to what I kind of know CrossFit as. But I think, even looking back at when I was at the games this year and at games last year and semifinals last year, like I think I was pretty much the smallest guy there. Like there was a big field of dudes there and the chicks weren't small either. So like the semifinals programming, although there were a lot of skills in there wasn't like a crazy amount of muscle ups or a crazy amount of legless rope climbs and handstand pushes. There weren't very manageable sets that the big dudes ended up prevailing through that. So I don't know, maybe if it is a more aerobic or more energy system based set of tests this year at semifinals, you might see a completely different field of games athletes.
Yeah.
I still think the best will still get through, but those kind of bubble or borderline athletes might chop and change.
Or you could say that because the Open and the quarterfinals has been so aerobic, maybe the semifinals are suddenly going to be a big step up.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. I mean, I did hear So Bosman was asked a question like, why didn't you just do a classic strength test? Why didn't you just do like a total like you did 2 years ago?
Yeah.
We've had 2 totals, right? 2 iterations of the total. And he actually said he didn't like it in the sense that just the big guy or big girl, or the strong guy or strong girl who doesn't have to show fitness can just skew a leaderboard massively because they're just really strong. He wants people to have to be like fit and strong.
Yeah.
So when you look at semifinals last year, we actually didn't have a max strength test. We had an 800 meter assault run, and then you had to hit a max snatch.
Yeah.
And then there was like Linda, which was like a strength endurance test, which is constant moving. So I don't
That
know.
snatch one was almost done well. You could have literally walked that 800 meter.
You
run
could,
still
yeah.
in
It needed to be a bit of a tighter time cap. So maybe this is a trend in where we're going, which is, you can't just focus entirely on, just getting really damn strong and have that, maybe that one event where you can just, pick up a big win. Like you need to be fit now. And yeah, I like that. I think that's good.
Also, did you see the guy that won workout 2?
Workout 2. No, what did he get?
It was like 15 minutes something.
Was he massive or was he
No.
small?
It was a joke because CrossFit announced that he'd won it. But then if you look at his open scores, like his dumbbell snatch time and burpees was like 9 minutes. He didn't finish 24.3, which is a thrust.
Oh, because he did an affiliate. He didn't have to have a video?
I don't even know why they accepted it, but they did it. They announced that he was the winner of it anyway. But yeah,
Maybe he was just peaking for that workout.
peaking for the
He was
quarterfinals.
holding back in the
Did he
end
make it
because
through
he knew.
semis?
Don't think so. I'm not sure. I don't even know who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, there was one thing I wanted to ask about with quarterfinals specifically, because quarterfinals for the CrossFit Games season is the last online segment, where
Unless
for
you're an age
individuals,
group, yeah.
right? Unless you're an age group, and in that sense, the last chance for you guys to do video submitted workouts. And judging is one thing that we always have to consider anytime we do online workouts. Were the movement selections appropriate for good judging, or were there movements that you saw or standards of movements where judging became difficult or adhering to the standard became difficult? I mean, one that does stick to my mind is the step down from the box jump overs. Adele, you and I had a moment about
Thank you
that. You want to
for
talk about that a
reminding
little bit?
I mean, so actually that was the most boring workout to judge ever.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And to do.
And to do is pretty tedious.
No,
I would actually like that workout.
But yeah, I loved it actually.
Yeah.
But
You got to jump on the box 150 times. You
That's
sure?
true. The aftermath I wouldn't like. But
yeah, my back. Oh god. But yeah, I had Chris. Chris was judging me for that workout, and he just reminded me not every rep, obviously, but those last reps, he's like, "Step down." I was like, "Thank you." But and especially at the end when that last rep, I was judging someone, and he jumped down on the last one. I was like, "Oh god, I can't give you that rep."
Right.
But yeah, I really appreciate that you told me to step down and saved me doing an extra rep.
So with that in mind, would you feel like the quarterfinals movements themselves were pretty easy to judge and pretty easy to adhere to standards to as an athlete?
Yes, I think so. I mean, everything was pretty clear, and yeah, as long as you sort of get make sure you're facing away from the wall ball or the barbell, all of that, you just needed to basically have someone to tell you what to do. Well, I did anyway.
I mean, this was the season of a lot of turning around to start.
Yes.
It was
The
very
removal of
simple.
floor plans was good.
Yeah?
That was good.
Floor
yeah.
plans are stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
don't like
so I think there's actually a lot of debate around. So I agree. I like the fact that it's just way more simple.
Yeah.
Floor plans are stupid if you're letting 25% through.
But
Sorry,
what about
that's
the
I'm saying.
idea of like releasing floor plans? Because last year they would release it, and then for like shitty workout predictor people like me who loves putting that stuff up, it was really good because I had like something to play with.
Or do you think that's a trap?
Well, no, I don't know what I mean. How do you guys feel about it as athletes, like taking part in it? Do you like having the floor plans and then basically playing a guessing game for a week, being like, oh, what could it potentially be? As an affiliate, I think it was good for us because we could decide ahead of time if we needed to like get equipment or go somewhere else. But what are your general thoughts about?
I think
floor
I actually
plan
got
thing?
asked this question on the Coffee Pods and Wads podcast
Oh, yeah?
with Pedro, and he was saying that, I think the general thing is that if you, for example, CrossFit have opened up 25% to quarterfinals, and if you want all 25% to sign up, which is very unlikely. You know, I don't even know what the stats are on that, like who actually signed up, the overall participation. But if you want participation, you got to create hype. And they didn't really create any hype behind the quarterfinals. And if you want to do that, then you would release something like a floor plan or the workouts ahead of time, and then let CrossFit media do its thing. You know, let the Process podcast, let all the other media outlets do their thing and like create hype around it. I think because it was affiliate friendly programming, it didn't matter so much for us. The only thing that mattered for us was rope climbing, but it doesn't matter otherwise. There was no like 25-foot segments you needed or crazy amount of handstand space or anything like that. So I actually think it was totally fine without it. But if you want to create hype around it next time, I would just release the workouts earlier.
Yeah, I do think because this year was the first of its kind, the 25%, the affiliate friendly was what they said.
Yeah.
I reckon next year, and you know, them saying as well, there's going to be no floor plans, there's going to be no equipment lists, like two big changes that we've never had before. And I think now, I can definitely say that I feel a lot more at ease to be like, okay, next year I'm pretty confident they're going to program it in a smart way that's going to be very affiliate friendly.
Yeah.
Now we don't have to worry about floor plans, equipment lists, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I feel a lot better about it. I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
We didn't see shuttle runs this year. Didn't see shuttle runs in the open.
Didn't get to see a stupid curtsy turn.
Yeah,
All right.
really inefficient.
Curtsy turns are the wave of the future. I don't know. Have you seen me doing
Adele
curtsy
does it, but
turns?
she does it well.
What's not well about mine? They're very fancy.
Well, it looks good. It's
You're
very
literally
slow.
getting half the reps everyone else does it.
What?
You-
I'm going half speed. Those. You're catching me during my warm up. That's
Oh, sure.
what it is.
Okay, right.
Okay, well, how do we feel about not having shuttle runs this year?
Sad.
Really?
I love it. Yeah,
I think you got to test running.
But I think, you know, you probably can't, the size of a lot of affiliates, you probably couldn't have like, you know, as many people as say for a wall ball box jump workout as you could with shuttle runs. So maybe in semifinals.
Yeah, it was interesting though because they had it in the open last year, which is like everyone.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was kickback from that and people saying that, you know, that was
They had it
affiliate friendly.
almost every stage last year, actually, right?
Yeah, we had it in. We have it in quarters. Yeah, we had it in quarters as well.
and
Yeah,
even in
two
age
stages.
group semis.
Yeah, I just feel that I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing because I think I've been quite complimentary of the programming so far. We had the bench press, rope climb.
Oh, for age group.
For age group. I don't know if you had it.
We didn't have it for individual.
No. But I do feel like last year was a real statement being like running is in the programming now. And I thought that was a good thing because I think it got CrossFitters in general of all levels to start running, which I think is a very primal form of exercise. I think it's good.
Yeah.
So I wondered now the open will always dictate how affiliates program for the next year.
Exactly.
So if that now means that people stop programming running, I mean, I think personally, I'm definitely going to keep running in the program for all of us and shuttles.
I agree to an extent, but my bigger question is shuttle runs actually running?
So how would you test running in the open?
I mean, that's the hard part, right? And maybe that's why we can't really have running in the open unless you have a standard of you have to measure out whatever track and you have to have the camera on that person. Not likely, right? But I feel like shuttle runs is less about, you know, your running capacity than it is other like muscle endurance, right? Especially when you're bending down, you're going to be twisting a lot. I don't feel so much exhausted in the sense of like running a
It's because you're
400.
going so slow, mate.
Again, it's the best way to do it.
And your back hurts because of the curtsy turn.
That's the point. It doesn't hurt.
I totally get what you're saying. But I think at the end of the day, I think a shuttle run was the best option to get running in. And I think, it took us time to adapt to the running because it was so different to like running outside. But I personally do like the fact that was another element that was in there. But I think as an organization that writes programs, definitely going to keep shuttle running in there, especially as we get closer to the start of the season next year. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
How about a 2 meters by 2 meter circle?
Just like
Run in circles.
big ass circles.
Yeah, run around circles.
Sideways and shit like that.
Yeah, do what you want. Just got to get around it 25 times.
I mean, I'm into it. Last thing to talk about with quarterfinals is our time frame. In the past, especially like last year, 2023, we had 4 days of a window for each of the workouts. Again, it was split into two phases. Workout 1 and 2 was at one earlier date, and then the later date for the other half. This year, it's 6 days. Did that change matter, and did it help you guys to perform your best? Do you think it was necessary? What does that say to you at all?
I think they probably had to do that because for the affiliates, give them a bit of extra time. I didn't even realize that actually. That's terrible, isn't it?
You didn't actualize it was
no.
okay.
But Yeah, I think we had to be done like Monday morning last year. Obviously our time's a little bit different. So I remember we finished everything basically by Sunday.
Yeah.
I also remember horrendous DOMs last year. This year I feel okay. So yeah.
Time frame. Yeah, I think it was good enough. Allow people to really get the best result. Maybe give a couple of workouts a redo. I know a lot of like bubble level athletes who were definitely doing redos or considering redos to try and ensure that they were above the 40 mark cut line.
Okay.
But yeah, I think yeah, it's good, and especially if you're trying to get 25% through. Yeah, I think affiliates might struggle to run with so many people going through at one time. Whether it's equipment limiting or whatever that might be, but I think it's fine. I don't think you need to cut it down any more than that, or make it any longer than that. To be honest.
Okay. 6 days is right as rain then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it had to be done for affiliates. I guess the only thing that we have a slight disadvantage with is the
Being in
time.
Asia. Yeah.
Yeah. So Pacific time, they get Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Right.
We technically do get the 5th day, but we have to get it done really early to get it in. So I would say that athletes in Asia are at a disadvantage technically, and I don't know about other time zones maybe as well. Maybe it doesn't really matter because we're only competing against other athletes in Asia. But then I guess comparing scores in Asia to the US would make a bit of difference. But yeah, that's minor details.
I know at least one advantage that it gave us was it let us move around workouts to our advantage, right? So a lot of our community, they moved workout 4 as their first workout, knowing that that's a pretty quick workout and that's recoverable relative to like 1 and 2. But because they had the extra time, they didn't have to rush to get to workout 1 and workout 2. I think some people were even able to spread it across 3 days. Friday and then 2 on Saturday. That's the one that I can recall as being a big advantage for our guys.
Yeah, I think it's good. What about having 4 tests rather than 5? What do you guys think about that?
Lame.
How
many do you want?
Give more tests.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
We didn't even see. Did we see a part A and part B score?
No.
Everything was straight across.
Straight up.
So there was the Castro had hinted, which I quite like the fact that he hints it and then he doesn't do it.
He said there were 4 work.
He said there's 4 workouts. We're not saying there's 4 tests. And so everyone, including me, were like, "Oh, there's going to be a 2-parter."
Is there even any way to look at any of those workouts as more than one test?
What do you mean?
Like, was there a
You just lied.
For example, like would
You can do it
workout
for anything. You can literally say the first round of the wall balls and
okay,
box jumps.
yeah.
It could be score 1. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It could be
Like
score
rates or
A and then
something,
score B. Easy.
yeah.
I guess more scoring opportunities creates more breathing room for athletes who might have holes in their game.
Sure.
That's really the biggest difference, right? If you're a great athlete and you have no holes in your game, it doesn't matter how many tests you're going to have, you're going to crush them all.
Yeah.
But when you have holes, more tests gives you chances to make up your points. So I don't know, is that a good enough reason? If they're trying to get the best people there anyway, the best people don't really have many holes anyway. So
That's right. Well, then in that case, to finish up the quarterfinals talk is we have 2 athletes, 1 coach. The question will be to wrap this up. How do you feel about your performance before we get into your guys' placements? How do you feel about your performance for quarterfinals? And then for you, Ed, how do you feel about your programming as a coach in preparing everyone for quarterfinals? All right. So first, just going around the room, Adele.
Honestly, I'm so surprised.
Surprised in a
Adele
good way,
crushed
or
it.
what are we talking here? Yeah.
Yeah, in a good way. I mean, yeah, as soon as the first 2 were like the first 2 workouts the results were released. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Nice.
So did you genuinely think? Because I genuinely thought you were going to make it. Like confidently said Adele is going to make it this year. But what did you genuinely feel?
So when I saw the workout, I was like, okay, I think I've got a pretty good chance.
Yeah.
But before then, yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely tested my self-belief. I think, yeah, when I saw the workouts, I was like, okay, I think I've got a pretty good chance. But even still now, I'm still a little bit like, hey, not everything's been validated yet, so let's just see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to jinx anything, and but I'm very surprised.
Did looking at those workouts and seeing that you have a shot to making semifinals, did that give you a certain, I guess, motivation or?
Yeah, Yeah, big time.
Like, you felt it in those workouts for sure?
Yeah, and in those workouts, I mean, I know there's like aerobic based workouts. They're the ones I'm always going to do better with, and I can like, put my head down and I can work really hard there and get them done. But then it was even, having to redo a workout as well, sort of made me realize, okay, maybe I can do this. I am better than I think I am. And yeah, just gave me a little bit of, okay, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
Bit more belief in myself.
Hell yeah.
My assessment of you is that I feel like you've gotten so much better recently that I feel like if I put myself in your shoes, I don't really know what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
And so the one thing I think about specifically is like handstand push-ups.
Yeah.
Like, and how much your handstand
Just
push-ups. I am actually jealous. I always tell her, I'm like, I always go to her, I'm like, we used to be the same at handstand push-ups. How are you so good now? But when something is
that's
was so
bad. She can literally do one.
she's not good. But I guess when your capacity in anything increases quite quickly, you kind of lose touch with what you're
Takes
actually
a while,
capable of.
Yeah.
So I know you were really nervous about that handstand push-up workout.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it thinking I could finish this. And when you were like, I don't know if I'm going to finish, I was like, what? Like, of course you're going to. In my head, I'm like, of course you're going to finish this.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that in there.
There's such a funny clip that I think Al took, and it's me basically finishing that muscle up, finishing my last muscle up, and then the camera pans to Ed's face, and you're like, that was how I felt, like, fucking hell, surprise.
Yeah.
And then you did it again and went faster.
Yeah.
Fuck
and
yeah.
did really good time.
Yeah, but I think as well, like, I've become really aware of, I'm a lot better at pacing myself now, and like I understand my capabilities and my limits. And so I wrote down all my times. I went through my workout, wrote down all my times. Like, okay, this is how fast I need to do this. And I literally wrote it on the board so I could see it when I was doing the workout. And then I actually went a little bit slower. It was like 5 seconds slower.
Yeah.
But then I finished faster because it gave me just a little bit of extra, I don't know.
Energy.
Yeah.
Is that a
maybe.
process you hadn't done before? Or is that something you always do for these kinds of workouts?
Not always. Like that burpee box jump over, I was like, I'm just gonna see what I can do. But there's certain workouts where obviously I need to pace myself. Like even the clean and jerk one is like not doing touch and go.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Right.
There's just things I think, okay, I need to pace this, or I need to break it up to this many reps, and
I would say you're in the last few. I didn't really know what your CrossFitting was like before that, but when you were coming in and training with Ant and the team in your early days of being a part of the process, I felt like there was nowhere near as much thought that was going into how you're attacking workouts, and it was you were kind of much more of a, okay, I'm just going to go hard and hang on type thing. And I think now you can see there's a lot more intention, strategy, pacing. I can see a lot more with you.
And how about yourself?
Ain't surprised, motherfucker.
All right. Elaborate, please.
No, I'm not surprised. I think genuinely, like, at the beginning of this season, I actually was like, I shouldn't compete. I'm not good enough.
Really?
Yeah. I think beginning of the season being like at the end of DFC, I think I was just like, my body was so broken. Felt like I was getting old. Felt like I didn't really belong within that circle of like elite athletes anymore. And I was just like, maybe my time's come up and that might be okay. I've spoken to both these guys about it, and just had to take a bit of time off at Christmas. And I guess like training felt slow in January, February. I didn't really feel very good.
Yeah.
During the Open, it felt okay. But then actually, honestly, towards the end of the Open, I only had a few weeks before quarters, and like that's where I started to feel good. I was like, okay, now I feel like I'm confident again. Like things even like I normally feel really confident with, like in the Open, like bar muscle-ups. I was like, I don't even know if I can do these. I don't feel good at bar muscle-ups right now.
Wow.
And like that kept giving me a lot of self-doubt. But honestly, as soon as I started prepping for quarters, I was like, okay, I actually feel good now. I feel like I could do well. I was joking about saying I'm not surprised. I knew it was going to be a battle trying to go into it. I think same as Adele, once I saw the workouts, it gave me like a bit of a quiet confidence. But I still know I got a lot of work to do as I go towards semifinals now. But yeah, I think as soon as I saw the workouts, I was quietly confident that I would qualify without too much thought behind it. So I think going forward, though, I still got like a lot of work to do, even though I've only got a very short window before the Far East Throwdown. I do think that just to me, I think this is probably the first time that I felt very comfortable doing the workout. I'm generally shithouse at online qualifiers. It doesn't matter if it's the games qualifiers, it doesn't matter if it's Waterpalooza or a DFC style competition. I've just always been complete crap at it. So yeah, this year I actually felt very much at ease doing them. I felt very calm going into the workouts, didn't feel too much stress about it, and I think that probably helped. So yeah, I'm happy to end up where I finished, and looking forward to going to semis.
Hell yeah. And we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, I think
That was. Do you know what that thing is? I said at the beginning. Do you know what that's from?
what's that UFC? What's that?
And it's from Nate Diaz when he
Nate
beats
Diaz,
Conor McGregor.
Not surprised.
Ain't surprised, motherfuckers.
So actually thinking, so I know I gave my 2 cents on Adele and her progress.
Yeah.
So with Ant, you leading into the Open, I was thinking DFC, I knew you weren't very healthy then. I think we both knew that. And you didn't really attack DFC with like full gusto. Like you were kind of just like, it's just an experience. You know, why not? You get an invite. Why would you not, take an opportunity like this and compete with the best?
Well, I couldn't really though. I mean, I was popping painkillers every day and anti-inflammatories.
But the mindset was, there's no expectation. You also said like, I'm not expecting to be physically my fittest right now. And I know I'm carrying a few niggles and injuries, but I think it definitely took, just watching you train, it took a while for you to bounce back out of that.
Yeah.
Like you gave yourself a bit of time off at Christmas, really good. First holiday in a long time. But I think just watching you in your open prep, I would watch you do things like box jumps and be like, just in my head, like, please don't tear a calf. Like I thought that's
literally what I was thinking as
the
well.
state of your body at the time. I was like, dynamic movements, I just thought like something's going to tear. And I even thought that, even just like just a week before the quarterfinals, I was watching him thinking like, I don't know if he can handle the same stuff that he used to be able to do. But then coming into quarterfinals and actually seeing you execute the workouts, and like you were pretty calm about it.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, yeah, I'll go first heat, do your warm up in 20 minutes and just basically hit the workout and execute them pretty well.
Right.
And I think I was just thinking about this the other day, Ants, you've always put a label on yourself as someone who doesn't do well in online qualifiers. And I think actually looking at your scores right now and seeing you in the quarterfinals this year and the Open, I actually think you did really damn well. It's probably your best year of like online qualifiers.
Because it didn't put any heavy stuff in.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if this is where the open sport's going, fantastic. But still,
Yeah.
When you look at your open places, you came 5th, 9th, and 7th. It's like top 10 finishes
70th.
in 3 workouts. And then we won't talk about the last workout. But I mean, 70th.
Stupid workout.
Again, 70th for the heavy workout was still not terrible. Like you've had finishes much below that.
That's true.
So, yeah, it's cool to see that you're coming in. You feel like you're coming into
Still
form.
old.
Yeah.
Getting older.
And yeah,
guys.
going back to you, I mean, of course, Ant and Adele are both products of the elite program, right? For our LPC track, and then just the greater process community. I mean, we had 101 athletes qualify for quarterfinals in the first place. But just looking from at this point of view, just after the quarterfinals, how do you feel about the way that you programmed our program and all of that considered?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always hard. It's hard to like compare year on year because we have more people in the process now.
Yeah.
So naturally there's going to be more people qualifying, and it's 25% versus 10%.
Yep.
I think currently where we're at as the process in terms of unofficial qualifiers the next round, we have 2 to 3 potential athletes in the age group categories.
Yep.
We have Adele and Anne. We have Alton or Zoo.
Yep.
He's qualified in Asia. We have Robin, who's qualified in Africa. He's got 4 individuals. Last year we had 3 individuals qualifying, so that's 1 up. And I think we have four athletes in the teams at semifinals. So essentially at this point in time, we have 12 people competing for the process in the semifinal level. So I think that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
I think really cool to see like 40 people from our gym alone going to the quarterfinals. I haven't seen like any other gyms really where they have that volume of people making it. Almost kind of everyone in our community
in
program.
Asia? In Asia?
In Asia,
Okay,
yeah.
right, yeah.
Actually, even I don't know. Have you
Well, I
seen
was going to
that?
say like Oslo had like 150 people.
Okay. Remove that stat. Blank that bit from the.
For Asia though. Asia.
Yeah, but I think almost everyone in our compete program made it to the quarterfinals. Quite a few people from a perform program, and their goal was just to peak for the open, made it to the quarterfinals as well. Everyone in the elite program made it to the quarterfinals. So those are the goals that we set out for each program, and the fact that we're delivering for the compete and elite 100% results on that. I think that's pretty damn cool. But more importantly, the fact that these guys have come through and are ready for next stage and are relatively unscathed. Yes, we're going to pick up a few like niggles and things coming through.
It's a deload week. Don't forget.
Yeah. But I think the fact that athletes have all progressed to this point, even the compete athletes and all the age group athletes that competed, everyone's come out of there unscathed. Everyone's healthy. No one's broken. Everyone's already ready to get back into training next week. That's the coolest part, I think, for all of it. And, we're about to start our very first cycle for next year. Not for these guys. These guys are going to, now be prepping for semifinals, but for the rest of the community, we're about to start our first program for the next year. So have reflected back and spoken to all the coaches, all of our affiliate head coaches, and asked for feedback kind of on the year. Like, what do we think? What can we improve? And I think that the general feedback has been really positive. This year, we made quite a few changes to the program that we learned from the previous year. And yeah, so I think it's just more of the same. So yeah, I guess I'm really happy with it. I think we got a nice balance of intensification work, accumulation work. We put deloads in at the right time. We deloaded a couple of times a bit more aggressively leading in to the quarterfinals and the open. I think that was about right. But I think with all of that said, I think the thing that we're doing really well as a process programming team, but all the coaches and all the people who've been with us for a really long time in terms of athletes, is that athletes are just getting better and better at understanding how to self-regulate. So, that puts less pressure on the program in a way. And it means that, athletes are taking responsibility for themselves. I think we created an environment and a culture where we applaud people when they take rest days. We encourage people to feel good, not to push the bodies to the point where they're breaking and they're injured. And there's a very supportive community around that. And I think because of that has fostered a community of people who really pride themselves on not only being really fit, but also the fact that they're not broken, they feel good, and they can do this again next year. I think that's like the coolest part about what we have.
I dig it. Everyone's feeling good then, like elbows, shoulders.
I'm feeling
knees,
shit,
ankles.
but I didn't even do the quarterfinal.
He feels shit because he doesn't do the process program. He just does his stupid calf raises all the time. Doesn't do anything.
It's the cars. It's all the cars.
And this in the shower.
By the way, I do follow the process programming. I'm just going through a bit of a rough time. At the
No,
minute.
it's fine. It's fine.
You're
Your
embodying
body.
You want to make sure people know I'm not lying on social media.
5 years. 5-year deload.
All right, closing in with a few quickfire questions. Nothing crazy here, but open questions first of all. Number one, I want you to think of
Is it actually quick fire? Like, you got a second to do it?
quickfire. Let's say 10 seconds. You got to think. All right.
Quick fire questions, no rules.
We'll
here.
go
Take as long
around.
as you want.
We'll go
go
from
that.
Ed to Adele.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm so bad at quick fire. Do I have to go first? I'm really not good.
10
at quick
seconds.
fire.
All right.
I'll go first.
All right.
I
Fine.
tried to read your note, but I can't read your writing.
Thank
So
you.
We're going Ant,
Right, like a
Adele.
doctor.
And Adele,
Number
me.
one, just isolate your favorite moment from quarterfinals. Go.
Finishing up the weekend on Monday.
Like it was all done and dusted.
10 seconds, you're done. Next.
Watching workout one in our group class on the Friday afternoon, and just seeing all the quarterfinal athletes and all of our community just get involved and like create a really good vibe. That was really damn cool.
Nice. Adele?
Mine was finishing workout 3. It was workout 3, the ring muscle up.
First time
workout.
and second time.
The first time.
Heyo.
And then that got crushed real fast.
I
I love that moment.
I blame Sculpt for making me have to do that workout again because he actually stood in front of 20 of my toaster bars.
You were going to do it
we'll
anyway.
bring
I was
Yeah,
going to do
you
it
were,
anyway,
yeah.
but that confirmed that I was going to
Because
do
you're
it.
a good partner. You said, I'm going to do it because Adele has to do it again.
Yeah, that's
Aw,
a nice
that's nice.
sport.
Very nice.
Whose performance surprised you at this quarterfinals?
Mine.
Did you think you were going to do shit?
Skulks. I was surprised with Skulk. Skulk was very impressive this quarterfinal.
So he had a goal of being top 100 in Africa, and he finished
64.
So yeah, 63rd, 64th. So he crushed his goal.
I think not taking away from like the test, like we said, a aerobic test, and that definitely played into his what he's good at.
Yeah.
But also like the muscle up test, like he's made so much progress there. Like
Yeah,
last year he was
that's amazing.
really struggling on muscle ups.
Mm-hmm.
This year he got super close to finishing the workout. Just impressed with also like his attitude towards it. I know the year previous he walked out after halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
So his attitude and endeavor through the 4 workouts, I was impressed with.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with both of these guys. I'm very very impressed with Adele just throughout the whole season. And then Skulk, and again not because of Skulk's placing, but just knowing how far he's come from last year.
Yeah.
He set a really. I still feel bad because Skulk said to me 2 years ago, he's like, we were sat in this office, just us two, and he said, Ed, can I ask you a question? I was like, yeah, go for it. He's like, do you think I can make it to semi-finals? And I went, ha, no, mate. I was like, no way.
No hesitation.
I actually said straight up, no. And then I took a breath and I was like, okay, let me ask you a question again.
Okay.
Like, when do you want to make the semi-finals by?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know, I want to make it in the next couple of years. And this is a point, he just pulled out the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
He wasn't seeing tests through. He wasn't putting himself out there to compete. There's just a lot of more mental things more than physical that I was like, I don't think you understand what it takes to be a semi-final athlete.
Yeah.
But in the last year, he's really changed a lot of those things around. I know a lot of that's come from, more deep conversations, training with these guys who, are very clearly had their sights set on the semi-finals and do everything they can to get it. I think just by nature of that environment, he's really stepped up. And the muscle up workout for me was the thing I was most impressed with.
Nice.
Considering he could hardly do a muscle up last year, and then almost finishing that workout was pretty damn awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks. Good Quickfire answer.
Yeah,
that's my bad. I should have been like, stop.
Yeah.
Here's
was 10 seconds,
Here's
wasn't
one I think is going to be an easy one. The step down rule from the box jump: keep it or bin it.
I don't care for it. I think if you're a good CrossFitter, you should be able to adapt on the fly.
Okay.
I think it probably blunts the overall time of the fastest, but I think it's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Keep it.
It's fine. Yeah.
Keep it. I mean, people are still able to really mess themselves up even with the step down.
Yeah. Last one. Semifinals is going to be in Busan, South Korea. We're all going to be going. Ed, you'll be going as our head coach, Ant and Adele as individuals, and for some reason, I'm on a team.
That's good, Chris.
Not really sure how that's happening, but I'll be in a team, CrossFit Coastal. So just to make sure that we are ready for it, say anything in Korean.
Buyokesegi.
What does that mean?
Can't remember. I think it's a swear word.
What's 감사합니다? Is that how you say thank you?
감사합니다.
감사합니다 is thank you.
There you go.
Kimchi. Yeah.
Kimchi is
Actually, you know what? Someone actually taught me a
Beep and
swear
bap.
word in Korean today, and
Go
I've
for it.
already forgotten it. I've already forgotten it.
Ah,
I know.
was it whatever
I
that said?
think mine was a swear word.
Say it one more time.
Buyokesegi.
We're going to have to verify that one. Mine is 감사합니다, and that is thank
I just
you.
said that. Can't
Oh,
copy out, mate.
안녕하세요.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Apparently, we are shit at Korean, so we have 3 weeks
Speak
to
to
get
yourself,
better.
mate.
Okay.
Yeah, go
How
for
do you
it.
say hello in Korean?
안녕하세요, I think. You can say 안녕, I think. I was teaching at a Korean school for a little while. That's why I don't know much Korean, because
Well, you should know more than us.
I'm a little ignorant on that. So my bad. I will get a Korean book. Thank you guys for quarterfinals chat.
Thank you.
We'll see you
Bye.
at semifinals.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.